This engine was not a failure because it was weak. It was not poorly built. And it was definitely not cheap. This engine failed because it was too powerful. So powerful that it overheated itself, destroyed its own internal components, and quietly damaged the reputation of the company that built it. The engine was called the BMW S85 V10. And what makes this story even worse is that BMW knew exactly what was wrong, but chose to stay silent. This is the story of a Formula One inspired engine that pushed engineering too far and paid the price for it. In the early 2000s, the automotive industry entered what many engineers now call the horsepower war. Car manufacturers were no longer competing on comfort or reliability. They were competing on numbers, more horsepower, more cylinders, higher rev limits. BMW wanted to prove something. They wanted to prove that a luxury sedan could sound, rev, and feel like a race car. Marketing departments loved the idea. Customers were excited, but engineers were quietly terrified. Because making an engine powerful is easy. Making it reliable at 8,000 revolutions per minute is not. Deadlines were tight, budgets were fixed. And BMW wanted an engine that felt legendary from day one. So engineers began pushing designs beyond what road cars had ever used before. Tighter tolerances, higher internal stress, more heat, less margin for error. And that is where the BMW S85's problems began. On paper, the BMW S85 V10 looked perfect. A naturally aspirated 5-liter V10, over 500 horsepower, and 8,250 revolutions per minute's redline, individual throttle bodies for instant response. BMW openly admitted the engine was inspired by their Formula One program. Everything about it screamed performance. But engines do not fail on paper. They fail in the real world. The S85 generated enormous heat, far more than BMW's previous engines. And heat is the silent killer of all mechanical systems. To control this heat, BMW relied on oil and cooling systems that were already operating at their limits. Oil temperatures climbed rapidly. Bearings were placed under extreme stress, and internal clearances were so tight that even minor oil degradation became dangerous. The engine felt incredible, but only when everything was absolutely perfect. At first, the failures were subtle. Owners noticed unusual engine noises. Oil consumption increased. Cold starts became rough. Dealers dismissed these concerns. This is normal for a high-performance M engine. These cars are designed to be driven hard. But then S85 engines started failing. Not after years of racing, not after track abuse, but during normal daily driving. Some BMW M5 and M6 engines failed with less than 60,000 kilometers. And suddenly, owners realized this was not random. This was a pattern. When the BMW S85 failed, it failed completely. Rod bearings wore prematurely. Oil pressure dropped. Metal components expanded beyond tolerance. In many cases, the engine seized without warning. Owners described the same experience. A sudden loss of power, warning lights flooding the dashboard, and then silence. A high-performance luxury car, once praised as an engineering masterpiece, reduced to a lifeless machine. Replacing the S85 engine often cost more than the car's resale value. For many owners, the car was simply abandoned. Internally, BMW knew exactly what was happening. Engineers had warned about rod bearing longevity. They had raised concerns about oil viscosity sensitivity. They had suggested design revisions. But admitting the problem publicly would have meant recalls, massive warranty claims, and serious damage to BMW's M brand image, so BMW chose a quieter solution. Updated bearing designs were introduced silently. Software revisions limited engine behavior. Warranty coverage became extremely selective. Officially, there was no widespread issue. Unofficially, BMW dealerships around the world were replacing failed S85 engines regularly. The BMW S85 was not badly engineered. It was engineered too aggressively. The engine made incredible power, but the supporting systems could not survive long-term stress. The rod bearings were undersized for sustained real-world use, oil quality became critical, heat cycles shortened component life dramatically. BMW designed the S85 to deliver emotion, sound, and performance first, and durability second. In simple terms, the engine was built to impress reviewers, not to survive decades of ownership. Eventually, BMW made changes. Later engines were revised. Bearing designs improved. Cooling strategies were adjusted, but the damage was already done. The S85 earned a legendary sound and a terrifying reputation. Owners lost trust, repair costs skyrocketed, and BMW quietly moved away from high-revving, naturally aspirated engines forever. The S85 directly influenced BMW's shift toward turbocharging, lower rev limits, and stronger safety margins. Not because BMW wanted to, but because they had learned what happens when an engine becomes too powerful to survive. This is why modern engines feel more controlled, less wild, less emotional. Because engineering is not about pushing limits once. It's about surviving them every single day. And the BMW S85 proved that power alone is never enough. If you enjoy real car engineering stories, the ones manufacturers rarely talk about, there's much more coming.